watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Business Access.
Business Access TV.
Serious.
Serious about business.
Hello and welcome to Business Access Television's coverage of the opening ceremony and reception for the Mona School of Business and Management's 4th Business and Management Conference. We're at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel in New Kingston. I'm your host, Keneal Gale. Stay tuned for the highlights.
Honorable Minister Nigel Clarke, other distinguished guests, members of the UWIC Committee, and members of the Mona School of Business and Management, academics from Jamaica and the region, members of the business community, President of the PSOJ and other dignitaries. Welcome. This is our official opening of our 4th International Business Conference, and it promises to be one of our most exciting as we deal with the topic of entrepreneurship and the promise that it should deliver to the economy. We're pleased to share and spearhead this initiative, and we feel that we're well placed to do so. The Mona School of Business and Management has a long record of research, teaching and learning, as well as implementing our own venture competition program, which has gone on to be the 2-time defending champion of the National Business Model Competition. So we feel that we're uniquely placed to have this discussion about entrepreneurship. We seek to bring together all the members of the community, entrepreneurs, small and large, and to have critical discussions. We've started today, but over the next 2 days, on how we can advance entrepreneurship, both traditional and social entrepreneurship, in collaboration with you, our partners. So, welcome once again. We look forward to stimulating discussion. As I said this morning, this is another in the series of building bridges between not just Mona School of Business and Management, but also the wider university to the business community. We feel it's important that what we do impacts you today and tomorrow. Today it is teaching and learning, tomorrow it is research.
We had our first in 2015. And at that stage, our executive director at the time, Professor Denzel Williams, thought it would be a good idea to have an event that showcased more of the work of the University of the West Indies, more of the experiences of small island developing states in the area of business and management. And so here we are today, the 4th conference, under the leadership of our new executive director, Dr. David McBean. And so this conference, we've chosen the theme of delivering on the promise of entrepreneurship. Why? We are at a watershed moment in our country's history and development. We've had a number of policies, a number of initiatives among a whole range of actors, organizations in Jamaica and among our international development partners. And the focus has been largely on entrepreneurship, innovation. What is the magic? What do we need to do to propel our economy forward? And so we thought at this stage, as a business and management institution, educational institution, it would be good to showcase our role in that. And so we brought together this, what I call, distinguished panel of speakers and this program throughout the conference. So we have put together 23 sessions over a 3-day period. We started this morning at 8:30 a.m. and I'm happy to see many of the people who were here at 8:30 a.m. They're still here with us, and I'm grateful for that. We don't take that kind of support lightly at all. So our program reflects a number of the key players across the entrepreneurial ecosystem in Jamaica, from private sector, public sector, civil society, social enterprises. We have, for instance, our host of display and exhibits on the outside and throughout the conference. And these are businesses, enterprises that have sprung up, most of them, through our venture competitions at the Mona School of Business and Management and the wider university campus. And as we are here, I invite you to walk about and see what is there. So we have a host of sessions that focus on some of the hard skills for entrepreneurs. What are the audit issues? What are the legal issues? What are the regulatory issues that we all need to know about as entrepreneurs and MSMEs? What are some of the innovations? What are some of the policies taking place? We have sessions that focus on youth entrepreneurship, on gender, on networking, and it's critical that we offer these kinds of skills, because the reality is doing business is not just about the legal and regulatory issues. It's not just about having the idea. It's also equipping our entrepreneurs and MSMEs to learn about how to network. How do you navigate the waters?
We're here with Dr. David McBean, who is the Executive Director of the Mona School of Business and Management. Welcome to Business Access Television, Dr. McBean.
Thank you for having me.
Just tell me quickly, what was the thinking behind setting up this conference and organizing the theme for this conference?
Well, it's our biennial conference, as is once every 2 years. And when we looked at our research, our interest, what the country need, we decided on looking at entrepreneurship and promise of delivery. And entrepreneurship is now just so crucial for growth, and the minister would have endorsed that. And as a business school, because we remind people we're a business school, we have to look at the issues and areas that would drive business development in the country. So that's how we ended up with entrepreneurship this year.
Do you think Mona School of Business's role in helping to drive economic growth in Jamaica is somewhat overlooked?
I wouldn't say overlooked, more understated. So we've had impact on policy, for example, influencing MSME policies, policies on entrepreneurship. We've done research and consultancies with all the major companies in the country across manufacturing, finance, for example. So we are an important part of the fabric. Our graduates, whether at the undergraduate level or the postgraduate level, are in every facet of business in the country. But people tend to take it for granted. And so one of the things we have to do is certainly increase our engagement, but also highlight our existing engagement.
Do you think there needs to be greater collaboration with the Mona School of Business and other faculties on campus?
Yes, and we do have that collaboration. So for example, our master's students right now are solving some problems in the Faculty of Medicine. And we're doing work also with the main administrative centers, looking at student performance. And so we are increasingly more integrated, and we run the venture competition on campus, whose winners have gone on to win the National Business Model Competition. So we don't only take MSBM students, we do take students from other faculties. So we do a bit, but we have a lot more to do, and especially around entrepreneurship, driving that throughout the university.
I'm really very pleased to be here and for the DBJ to be a sponsor of this very, very important conference that the Mona School of Business and Management is putting on. Indeed, this is the second year that the DBJ is sponsoring this conference. And I am pleased that we are sponsoring again this year, because the theme of the conference, delivering on the promise of entrepreneurship, is really aligned with the work that we are doing at the DBJ as it relates to our focus on the micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. So we have capacity building programs that are offered to the micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises the work that we're doing in entrepreneurship, the work that we do with the universities, with the incubators, the business model competition that we sponsor every year with the universities. This is all very, very, very important work that's taking place, and we are really very happy to see that the Mona School of Management and Business is now really putting into practice a lot of the research and theories that we have at the universities. So yes, we are very pleased. We are very happy to be a sponsor of this conference, and the reports that I've had so far, the conference has gone very, very well. And just to say that we're looking forward to continue working in particular with the Mona School of Business. There are a number of very exciting projects and programs that we are going to be rolling out during the course of this year. The minister might mention some of them in his remarks. But again, just to say that we are really very happy to be a sponsor again on this conference, and we wish the conference every success. Thank you very much.
You're watching Business Access's coverage of the opening ceremony and reception for the Mona School of Business and Management's 4th Business and Management Conference. More after this break.
Our women are the backbone of our society. They deserve to be protected and respected. Domestic violence is not okay. Speak up and speak out. No more violence against women.
Welcome back to Business Access Television's coverage of the Mona School of Business and Management's Business and Management Conference. Here are more highlights.
I'm very happy that the Mona School of Business has saw it fit to focus on the topic of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship at its most fundamental level is taking risk in order to achieve a particular objective. You can have social entrepreneurs, you can have business entrepreneurs. I think we're focused on business entrepreneurs here, but the risk taking is common to both. And as far as business entrepreneurs are concerned, it is risk taking with a view of making a profit. Now, throughout the course of human history, it is clear and abundantly clear that the value of entrepreneurship to a society is immensely great, because all progress comes from taking risk, making mistakes, and more often than not, making breakthroughs that lead to phenomenal results. And all the advances that we can think of, the things that we take for granted, even here in Jamaica, the clothes that we wear, to the devices that we use, the cars that we drive, all of the products and services that we consume and we don't even think about, they resulted at some point in time from some entrepreneurial energy and success. Indeed, the components of all the things that we use resulted from some type of entrepreneurial success. So societies around the world that want to get ahead, want to deliver for their people prosperity, are focused on how to engender and support and inculcate in their societies this thing that we call entrepreneurship. When you go to countries like Chile, that is today known for entrepreneurship, it has resulted from a dedicated focus over a long period of time, and Chile has had some very innovative programs, some of which would be great if we could do in Jamaica. They have a program, for instance, and this is not a proposal, This is called flying a kite. But they have this very interesting thing in Chile where, and they can do it now given the stage of development that they're at, but they offer a certain amount of funds to any entrepreneur anywhere in the world who comes and sets up business in Santiago. And they may even, there's a small hiring component. So if you're going to set up a business, they advertise. You come to Chile and we will give you $50,000. I don't have the precise, it might be 50, it might be 25, but some number like that. That's how serious they are about entrepreneurship. You go to Israel, there are serious programs designed to build an entrepreneurial ecosystem. You go to India, and it's the same. And the reason is that these countries realize the tremendous value to society from having an entrepreneurial ecosystem and an entrepreneurial group in society that's not predetermined by birth. It's not the son of or the daughter of. It is determined by the power of one's character and one's dispensation, one's energy, one's outlook, one's preferences in life. If entrepreneurship is going to be dependent on the son of or the daughter of, we'll never get anywhere because there's no talent in the world that we know that's distributed in that way. But in all countries that thrive on entrepreneurship, there is a great degree of innovation that comes from their research institutions. Now, Jamaica has research. Of the 25 patents in the University of the West Indies, I believe 20 of them, Prof, you can correct me if I'm wrong, 20 of them are at the Mona campus of the University of the West Indies. These are international patents. Now the question is, how many of them have been commercialized and have been made to make money? That is the question. Because one thing to have the brain power and the tenacity, brain power to develop the research, the tenacity to go through the complicated process of registering an international patent and having the intellectual property. But then the next stage is to be able to commercialize that research. And that is an element that we need to work on if we are to realize our potential. As a result of that, we are working on engagement with the Inter-American Development Bank, IDB, and we're going to be doing it through the DBJ. That is going to help us with the technical resources to build the capacity for commercializing of research. And these things normally come with loans. So they lend you money and then they have one of the consulting with it. We're in the process of negotiating that now, and I hope before too long it is something that we can launch. And as I said, a key component of it will be to enhance our ability to commercialize research. The inspiration that comes from, that leads to these kinds of development are not known, it's not known a priori from which quarter it will spring. We don't know in advance under which rock or at which root of which tree this inspiration is going to arise. And therefore, we have to have an environment where wherever it springs from, capital can be available to allow it to move forward. And having a market economy where prior ownership of capital is a necessary prerequisite to get from point A to point B is an experiment in futility. That's an exercise that will never work. We have to democratize capital, and it only responds to ideas. Now, we are making steps in that regard. As I announced earlier this year, as a part of the IDB facility of which I spoke earlier, which will have the component that helps us in the research and the knowledge transfer, we're going to have a sidecar fund of just starting with 200 million Jamaican dollars that will match angel investors dollar for dollar on angel investments that they make. The government doesn't have the resources to do the search or the evaluation, and so what it will do is find as many angel networks as it can, 2, 3, 4, 5, and have MOUs with them that whatever they decide to support, the government will come in on the same terms on a 50-50 basis. This will expand the pool available for the ventures that are at the riskiest and most uncertain stage. We have also increased our allocations through the DBJ and through other intermediaries of funding to medium-sized, micro and small businesses. As far as a product that deals with the providing replacement for security, i.e. this guaranteed product, where a medium-sized business that doesn't have the collateral can get a credit support from the DBJ, we increased the allocation of that from 250 million last year to 600 million this year, because we're serious about promoting entrepreneurship. There's a facility that deals with risk capital at the DBJ that we increased from 100 million to 400 million this year, because we're serious about boosting entrepreneurship. This is from a government that has 1 million, as you know, pressing needs in society, but we're creating space to support entrepreneurship. We also have allocated for the first time, and we just have to finalize the mechanisms for its disbursement, $500 million that is dedicated exclusively to companies that have sales under $10 million. And so normally what happens, you allocate to MSMEs, and the companies with sales of 400 million or 300 million tend to dominate the financing. We know from our experience that the broader the base is the stronger the pyramid. So we want to make sure we have a broad base and that the micro companies have access to the oxygen of finance, and therefore $500 million exclusively to micro enterprises. In my budget presentation, I announced $200 million to be allocated towards research. Well, what we will do is allocate those funds across the research university space in a way that is transparent and in reference to some objective criteria, and leave it to the universities under some MOU with the Ministry of Finance, that's very general, to run the internal competitions for the allocation of those funds.
We take another break here on Business Access Television's coverage of the Mona School of Business and Management's 4th Business and Management Conference. We'll be right back.
Cameo brings the creative industries to life, delighting creatives in different fields each week. Art.
My life turns art. I breathe, I eat art.
Fashion. Food.
Without a customer, we're nothing but 4 walls.
Music. Film. Cameo, only on Business Access TV.
Welcome back. You're watching BATV's coverage of the opening ceremony and reception for the Mona School of Business and Management's 4th Business and Management Conference. Mr. Clark, welcome to Business Access. Do you think the issue of research and development has been understated in Jamaica in terms of driving economic growth?
I think research has a huge role to play in our development. As I said in my speech earlier, of the 25 patents at the University of the West Indies regionally, 20 of them are right here on the Mona campus, right? People right here in Jamaica who have registered 20 international patents. What we want is an environment where we encourage other researchers to develop ideas that can lead to international patents. But in addition to that, we want an environment where those patents can be commercialized, where those patents, the knowledge can be transferred to those with entrepreneurial energy and those who have a desire to take risk, and for those patents to be turned into money at the end of the day. And the government is focused on working to ensure that this becomes a possibility. We're working with the IDB, Inter-American Development Bank, on a project to boost entrepreneurship in Jamaica, and a big part of that project will be to provide the technical resources and provide us with the technical help to build those knowledge transfer mechanisms to allow us to commercialize research.
How will you ensure that the other universities do not feel left out? Because you did speak about spreading across the country, but how will we ensure that it's not just heavily UWI influenced?
No, absolutely. When I speak about, I'm just using the examples of the patents because they have come from UWI, right? So that's just a fact of life. But our approach to research will be Jamaica-wide. Any institution involved in research, whatever we are doing, for example, with that IDB project to boost entrepreneurship, will be generally available.
You spoke about the $200 million that will start in the fund. What about those who say, that's not enough if we really want to monetize this properly?
If you start at zero,
right,
and you go from 0 to 200, that's an infinite increase, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay, we have to start somewhere. This is the first time that we are making an allocation directly from the budget specifically for research. Okay, normally how it is done, it is an allocation made to the university and then they choose what they're going to put here and there. Here we're saying research is important, and we are symbolizing what we mean by that by making an amount available. And we start somewhere and we hope to build on that over time.
All right, Mr. Thank you so much for talking with us.
My pleasure.
Your response to the minister's presentation earlier about the government's commitment to research.
So, Mr. Clark said some very positive things about supporting entrepreneurialism and entrepreneurship in Jamaica. And I think that many of those things, if implemented properly, will have some visible impact that we're going to see. So, talking about giving space to the private sector and for that creativity to be found and democratizing funding for them, great things. And some of those programs that are through the DBJ going to be enabling more people to be able to access these funds, also great things. And the microfinance to the micro entities, also wonderful ideas. The funding to for research, big step in the right direction. Government has funded research indirectly by funding universities, but they've never before said you must use these funds for research. And now this is that first step. And I think it's very good to recognize that what research does is help provide solutions to problems that, let's say, nobody knows the answer to yet. That's the point of research. And so to recognize that that's an important component of that stream of activities that leads to the kind of entrepreneurial outputs that we're looking for, that have economic impact. And to recognize that some deliberate funding needs to be put into that, that's a step in the right direction. So I fully support.
And that's how we end our coverage of the Mona School of Business and Management's 4th Business and Management Conference opening ceremony and reception. I'm your host, Keneal Gale. Thanks so much for watching.
making it easier to do business through the electronic registration form.
Once you have done that, once the application is approved, then you are not only registered with the company's office, but you're also registered with the Tax Administration Jamaica. So you get a TRN, taxpayer registration number. You're registered with the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, so you get an NIS number.
And there's also the Jamaica Electronic Single Window for Trade Portal.
An electronic single window is expected to bring simplification, harmonization, and facilitation on international trade transactions.
Plus, a call by the Jamaica Association of the Deaf for parents to enroll children who are deaf or hard of hearing in one of their 7 schools island-wide. Hello, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Welcome to Jamaica Magazine.
Hurricanes can strike at any time. In the event of one, be prepared to act quickly. If a hurricane watch or warning has been issued, review your home disaster response plan. Map out likely routes to evacuate if your home is at risk and confirm with relatives or friends you plan to stay with. Also, confirm the location of the nearest shelter. Check your emergency supplies and restock if necessary. Remember, disasters do happen, so be prepared.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Thursday, August 29. For the first time, Jamaica will have the capacity to analyze the sugar, salt, and fat content of food products at one facility. Labs at the Bureau of Standard Jamaica, BSJ, and the Scientific Research Council, SRC, have been upgraded to conduct these tests. Minister of Health and Wellness, Dr. Christopher Tufton, says the upgraded labs will provide baseline information on the concentrations of sugar, salt, and fat in food products, which are major contributors to the development of obesity, hypertension, and diabetes.
For the population, it means that we will be in a position, based on this work, to give you better particulars, better information around the things that you put in your bodies, things that you consume, and you have a right to know.
He says the data received from these labs will also help government to establish evidence-based national guidelines, standards, and regulations for these ingredients. The upgrades to the BSJ and SRC labs, which cost $20 million, were financed by the International Development Research Centre, IDRC, of Canada. It is part of a 4-year, $4 million Canadian project entitled Improving Household Nutrition Security and Public Health in CARICOM. The BSJ, SRC, and University of Technology, UTEC, signed a memoranda of agreement on Tuesday to formalize the collaboration and its next steps. Section H of the Norwood Water Supply Improvement Project was commissioned into service recently, much to the delight of residents in the St. James community. The upgrading work was done by the National Water Commission, NWC.
I feel very good about it. It's been a very long time that we are without water, and we are very grateful for the work that is done here that we can get it.
Deputy Chairman of the NWC, Stephen Fong Yi, says the organization is committed to improving service delivery despite varying challenges impacting the entity's systems.
The Norwood Section H Water Supply Improvement Project forms part of the strategic imperative to extend access to water and improve the company's infrastructure, not just here in St. James, but across the island.
Meanwhile, Portland and St. Thomas communities are set to benefit from upgrades to their water supply systems. Those upgradings will accompany roadworks to start next month under the Southern Coastal Highway Improvement Project. At Tuesday's contract signing, Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Darrell Vaz, said funds had been allocated to improve road and water infrastructure simultaneously.
It means that where there is water, but it's not in the pipes will be run to facilitate the water getting to the communities and the households. And most importantly, where there is no water, provisions will be made to be able to pipe water to communities off of the main thoroughfare that are not getting water at this time.
Funding has been secured for the introduction of a new twinning concept in 35 high schools this year. Under the program, students from low-performing schools will be twinned with their peers at high-performing institutions. Minister with oversight of the education portfolio, Carl Samuda, says this strategy seeks to improve students' general performance and promote inclusiveness across the sector. One of the first set of schools to be twinned will be Haile Selassie and Arden High.
These students would get an opportunity to share in the experiences of a very highly successful school and be able to take back to Haile Selassie those attitudes that are constructive. We'll be able to give them a sense of enthusiasm, renewed enthusiasm. And that is why the twinning idea is one that has to be embraced.
Minister Samuda was speaking recently on the final day of the Jamaica Teachers Association's 55th Annual General Conference held at the Hilton Rose Hall Resort and Spa in St. James. It is expected that the success of the twinning exercise at Arden and Haile Selassie will provide a template for the concept to be replicated across the island. Students of Comfort Castle Primary and Junior High School in Portland are the beneficiaries of a $343,350 donation from Canadian charity, the Tamara Gordon Foundation. Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator Kamina Johnson-Smith, presented the check on behalf of the foundation to the school's principal, Dalmaine Moore, on Tuesday.
I think it's another example of how our diaspora reaches out to make real change and directly, positively impact the lives of Jamaicans.
Comfort Castle's principal says the funds will be used to expand the school's literacy and numeracy program and purchase a commercial printer and desktop computer, among other things. And finally, a National Centenary Church service will be held this Sunday, September 1, in celebration of the 100th anniversary of the birth of Jamaican cultural icon Louise Bennett Coverley. The service is part of 100 days of special activities announced by Culture Minister Olivia Grange to celebrate the centenary of Miss Lou. The events are being organized by various agencies, including the National Library of Jamaica, Jamaica Cultural Development Commission, and the Bureau of Gender Affairs. This Sunday's service will be held at the Coke Memorial Methodist Church at East Parade in Kingston, starting at 9:30 a.m. Members of the Political Directorate and other dignitaries are expected to be in attendance, as well as other national, civic, and community leaders. Louise Bennett Coverley, Miss Lou, was born on September 7, 1919. She is hailed by many as one of Jamaica's leading comedians who, through her poems in Jamaican patois, raised the dialect of the country to be acceptable and appreciated by all. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
Are you a small to medium-sized tourism enterprise? Borrow up to $25 million at an interest rate of 5%. You can use the funding to develop and maintain your infrastructure, upgrade or increase your capacity, enhance and expand your attraction, tour or event, and purchase raw material. Call the Exim Bank and ask about the Tourism SMTE loan. Their numbers are 876-630-1400 or 876-618-5889. Tap into the over $3 billion earned yearly through tourism with a SMTE loan.
The electronic business registration form was recently launched. This online form is a more efficient way of getting your business started and offers a one-stop shop service with the company's Office of Jamaica. Let's learn more about this web-based Super 4.
Transformation is about creating a public sector that can adapt to a radically changing environment to meet the needs of the 21st century citizen. And that's exactly what the Public Sector Transformation and Modernization Program, PSTMP, has been doing right here in Jamaica.
Public Sector Transformation and Modernization Program is a government-wide initiative managed by the Office of the Cabinet. The program encompasses projects which build the capacity of workers and provide support and direction to ministries, departments, and agencies to enable them to deliver the highest quality of services to people who do business with the government of Jamaica.
One service being transformed is the registration of businesses at the Companies Office of Jamaica. In times past, business or company owners had to go through several tedious steps to complete this process.
The customer would come to the company's office to register a business name. Then he or she would have to go to the tax office to get an NIS number. The transaction cost, the travel cost to do that was high. The time to register a business name was high as well.
In 2008, the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries implemented a one-stop shop program. And in 2014, the Business Registration Form, or BRF, was developed.
You complete the business registration form, more popularly known as the super form. You submit it to the company's office, and once you have done that, once the application is approved, then you are not only registered with the company's office, but you're also registered with the Tax Administration Jamaica. So you get a TRN, Taxpayer Registration Number. You're registered with the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, so you get an NIS number, and you are registered to deduct contributions on behalf of your employees for NHT and Hard Trust. So with the introduction of the super form, transaction costs were cut significantly, as well as the time to register. And it was more convenient because you just had to come to the company's office and you'd be registered with all the other business startup agencies.
The BRF has significantly reduced the amount of time to start a business from 6 to 4 days for a company and 4 to 2 days for a business name. To date, approximately 50,400 business names and 14,000 company names have been registered using the form. But it doesn't stop there. In April 2014, the Public Sector Transformation Modernization Program team started working with the COJ to develop an electronic version of the manual business registration form, the EBRF.
The electronic business registration form is just to allow persons to register their business names from anywhere in the world that they are. So they don't need to come into the company's office. They can stay whether they're at their homes or in their offices, as I said, wherever in the world they are, and register their business names. You can find the EBRF form on our website. The website is www.orcjamaica.com.
All that's needed is reliable internet access, a subscriber account with the COJ, an email address, a scanner for uploading documents, and information to register your business or company name. And for those who may not have access to a computer or internet service, the EBRF will be accessible through kiosks set up in revenue service centers across the island, as well as at the company's office in Kingston.
So the kiosks are really set up to allow persons who do not have internet access otherwise to register their business names online. And they will be using the electronic business registration form. That is just an electronic version of the super form. There are 3 kiosks that will be placed at revenue service centers in Montego Bay, in Twickenham Park, and in the Constant Spring tax offices. Those are the first set. There will be other kiosks in the future.
Once you have successfully registered your business or company name on the COJ website, you will get an update within 2 days. A notification will be sent to you via email that the COJ has completed the registration of your company or business name. The email will also include an electronic copy of the certificate of registration. You can then arrange for the registration certificate to be sent to you by courier, or you may pick up the certificate at the company's office.
The international investing community as well as the local investing community, they look at the World Bank's Doing Business Index, in which it ranks country according to the seamlessness of doing business in order to mobilize investments. When an investor is thinking about investing, they look at that index. Now, the Companies Office plays an important role in the mobilization and creation of businesses. And one of the things that we want is to create business as efficiently as possible, because entrepreneurship is important to economic activity and the acceleration of economic growth. The Companies Office has space constraint, so they much rather people not come into the office in order to register their businesses, because it's a more efficient process. And that is why the electronic registry is so important, because we need to create more businesses in order to accelerate economic growth and to create more jobs in order to improve the quality of life of our people.
The Public Sector Transformation and Modernization Program, PSTM, will continue to increase public sector efficiency and satisfaction, making Jamaica the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business. The EBRF is a project of the Public Sector Transformation and Modernization Program of Government and the Companies Office of Jamaica. The project is funded by the Inter-American Development Bank under the Public Sector Efficiency Program.
For more information on the electronic business registration form, you can go online, www.orcjamaica.com. You can email us at costsupport@orcjamaica.com, or you can call us at 908-441-9223.
Register your business online, register your business from anywhere in the world. It's easy to register your business or your
Register your business at the Companies Office of Jamaica's website, orcjamaica.com. A message from the COJ at the Public Sector Transformation and Modernization Program of Government and the Inter-American Development Bank.
Nutritious food, succulent dishes, superior workmanship, and excellent service. Jamaica is on the go. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Let's harness the indomitable spirit of our most valued resource, our people. Let's support our local businesses. After all, buying Jamaican means building Jamaica.
Up next, another electronic platform that will simplify the process of doing business in Jamaica.
Picture this. You're a busy entrepreneur working hard to grow your business. At the wharf to be cleared are the materials needed to make your products. You are required to visit several government offices and fill out multiple forms with similar information to complete this activity, spending time on the trading process that could otherwise be invested in your business. For you, this may just be a mental exercise, but for many entrepreneurs in Jamaica, it is the reality of trade. A reality that will change with the introduction of the Jamaica Electronic Single Window for Trade. An electronic single window ESW is an IT platform that facilitates the efficient clearance of cargo.
An electronic single window is expected to bring simplification, harmonization, and facilitation on international trade transactions under a robust electronic environment. This will bring facilities for customs brokers, government officials to interact with a computerized systems that will have a set of business rules that will allow the traders to fulfill all regulatory requirements, submit all the required data, and be able to complete their transactions in a single and seamless system.
With that electronic single window for trade, clearly it's an electronic form, and that will be filled out one time at your convenience, online, and then behind the scene, the BRAs, the Border Related Agency, will collaborate to ensure that your application is accepted.
The agencies connected to the system will be able to grant the necessary permits, licenses, and approval for the release of merchandise. When approval is given, the trader receives a notification and can then proceed to collect or send off goods. The introduction of an ESW will reduce the cost and time it takes to import and export goods, creating a more enabling environment for local entrepreneurs and foreign investors.
Where we can develop and implement a system where all the transactions can take place through a particular port or point or window in this instance, it makes doing business easier. By extension, therefore, it is expected that the interest in conducting business will be improved, will be increased, and investors will see Jamaica as an even more attractive investor destination. On the other side, it also will aid in the collection of revenue, where we can have a greater throughput of trade and of activity, which by extension generates even much more in terms of the economy.
Implementation of the ESW began in August 2018, and the timeline for completion is 36 months. Over 20 border and regulatory government agencies will connect to the platform. The entity responsible for collecting revenue from trade, the Jamaica Customs Agency, is the lead implementing agency.
The electronic single window system will be fully integrated, of course, with the Ascuda World system. They're both built on the Ascuda World platform. That information will be passed seamlessly from the electronic single window into the customs management system. And that, of course, reduces time and complexity, having a single point of contact and simplification of information. So that transparent environment, having that electronic track and trace, and of course, ensuring that persons are carrying out their functions within the agreed time frame.
The ESW is projected to reduce the number of entities a trader comes in contact with from as much as 5 to 1. In the future, this is how a trader could be making arrangements for the clearance of goods. The Jamaica Electronic Single Window, facilitating efficiency in trade, contributing to a robust business environment, a part of the framework for making it easier to do business with Jamaica.
With the new school term starting in just a few days, the Jamaica Association of the Deaf is urging parents to enroll children who are deaf or hard of hearing in one of their 7 schools island-wide. The schools are tailored to cater to their varying needs.
At the Jamaica Association for the Deaf, one of the things that's very critical to us is education our children. We are an 80-year-old organization now, and we manage 7 schools and units across 4 parishes. So we have the Lister Mary High School for the Deaf in Papine, and the Danny Williams Primary School for the Deaf in Papine. We also have the JD Preschool, which is where our little ones, we would love for them to start. That's where the language acquisition can be very strong, because it is preschool and the child is like a sponge. Attached to our Danny Williams Primary School is a unit at the Excelsior Primary School, which is our EXED unit. Attached to the Lister McGilby High School is a unit in Port Antonio, or Port Antonio unit, and a unit in Maypen in Woodside. And then we have St. Christopher School for the Deaf, or boarding facility at a primary level. As JAD schools, we have been running a project with the support of the USAID, and we've acknowledged that across the system, we currently have approximately 400 students in school. So we're looking at 400 students currently in school, but some estimates have now given reason to believe that we should have at least 1,000 students across the island with hearing loss, significant enough for them to need either special education placement in a school for the deaf or special education placement in a mainstream school with special accommodations. Now, those special accommodations can be a hearing aid, and under our business division, we do have a hearing assessment center, which is how we find the children to place in school. We acknowledge that there are some kids who will not need deaf education placement, but they may need to be in a smaller classroom size. And the way our education system is structured, you on average have a classroom size at the primary level with 44 students. Now, if you're a student who has hearing loss and uses a hearing aid, and you're in a classroom where there are 44 students, 1 teacher, and a blackboard dividing the room, 9 out of 10 you're not catching much in the classroom. And so the impact that has on the students is that it means that for a number of years, they are performing either at bare minimum or below bare minimum. And unfortunately, they may be just passed through the system. Schools may express to the parents, I'm sorry, we can't keep the child any longer because we recognize that there's a challenge and we recommend you do assessment. If the parent is afraid to do the assessment, They remove the child, move them to another school, and for the sake of ensuring that the schools have their numbers, the school may accept the student without even really questioning what happened at the previous school, why were you moving. So we, knowing that our school population is low, we're working to get more persons to be more aware of the fact that we do have schools for the deaf, that we do appreciate that maybe the student just needs a hearing aid, just needs preferential treatment in the classroom with a preferred seat, with more one-on-one attention, with a smaller classroom size. But our goal is ensuring that whatever the hearing loss, the child can be supported. The child can be given the education that they deserve, because we are firm believers that every child can learn and every child must learn. We are grant aided by the Ministry of Education to manage our schools, which means that our school fees and the costs aligned to sending your child to a school for the deaf is not significantly exorbitant. Most people, when they think of special education placement, they think of a private institution, and so the assumption is that it's going to be extremely expensive. For us, because we're granted by the Ministry of Education, we do teach the national standard curriculum. Our students throughout the education system, they do the same assessments that mainstream students do, and they are supported with teachers who have signing skill, as well as what we call deaf culture facilitators, who are teachers' aides, deaf adults who have strong signing capacity and are able to kind of help. So in the space where our concept is unclear, it's a tag team of teacher and DCF that help to support the student to ensure that they learn. And it's bilingual. So we're teaching English as a written language and sign language as an expressive and conversational language. We are also running a Jamaican Sign Language grammar curriculum. In the same way that as hearing persons, we learn English, because it's not assumed that you have a strong foundation in English. We are also teaching our students sign language to ensure that there is a continuance of the standardization of the language, and to also ensure that they have a strong foundation language to run on. Majority of our students are coming from hearing families, and so it's impractical to assume that a student coming into our school is going to have sign language already, which is why early identification and early intervention is important, because it means that a child coming into preschool is going to be learning sign language and English at the same pace that a student in a mainstream school is increasing their language capacity in English. Because education is our core focus, one of the things that's very critical for us is ensuring that we not only have children in school, but that we're adequately supporting them once we get them into school.
We want a productive Jamaica. We are not productive Jamaicans. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity is the way to go for all us Jamaicans. Small business, big business, old and young, we are tell every woman and man. We want growth and prosperity for a better nation with a building plan. So we can build our product and sell our product and put more money in our hand. Our economy can rise to a level and build a better nation. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity to move forward on this land. Productivity, that's the way to go, we should understand. Productivity.
Productivity, Pathway to Prosperity. A message brought to you by the Jamaica Productivity Center, a department of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
As we close today's show, we ask that you stay connected via our website, jis.gov.jm. And while you're online, send your feedback to Jamaica Magazine at jis.gov.jm or via tweet at JIS News. On behalf of the entire production team, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Do take care.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.
The global apparel market was valued at $1.7 trillion in 2012 and employed about 75 million people. With a budding fashion industry, we take a look at 3 people who are fashion incubators and helping to take fashion on the rise here in Jamaica. Today on Cameo.
Hello designers, welcome to the catwalk.
Executive producer of Mission Catwalk, Kenya Linton George, is no stranger to fashion, launching her own fashion line Kenya Linton in 2005. Now in its 5th season, Mission Catwalk has acted as a launching pad for Jamaican designers while sparking growth in the industry by partnering designers with retailers. Give us a brief history. Why did you decide to get into fashion in the first place?
I got involved in fashion at a very young age, like most designers. You tend to start picking up on the talent. And I never took it seriously as a career until I was in college studying philosophy, which was, you know, a bit daunting because you're spending all this money for a degree when you should have really been studying fashion. And that is when I started officially I'd say about 2005. I really started doing it professionally, and 2006 I did Caribbean Fashion Week. So that was the official launch of Kenya Linton Designs.
For you to come about with Mission Catwalk, like what was missing?
When America's Next Top Model was really hot, I thought, you know, it would be nice to have something like this for fashion designers where you could promote the designers and have great prizes to help their career. And then Project Runway came about, and I became very active in the fashion cluster to, you know, promote fashion designers. And I thought, you know, something like a Project Runway here would be very good. We tried to get the franchise, but it was very difficult because Jamaica is a very small market and we can't support the millions and millions of US dollars that is required to put on a production like that. So we decided to do our own smaller scale production, and that was the birth of Mission Catwalk. And the first season it was just 13 Jamaican designers, and we saw the talent that was there.
Now this will be the Fashion Innovation Challenge.
So tell me about the competition itself. How does it work and what do they win?
It's a typical reality TV show / competition where you have different prizes that you sign up to win. We have 12 designers. We give them a challenge at the beginning of the show. I'm the host, so I'm the one who gives them the challenge. I'm the one who delivers the verdict, so they love me and hate me at the same time. And we have 4 judges on the panel, so we give them a challenge. They go to Paddlers and shop for their fabric. We come back to this sewing room right here. They sew for about 8 to 10 hours, and it's magnificent to see what they can create in just 8 to 10 hours. So just less than a day, basically, or just a full work day for the average person. And they create wonders, and then after that, it's the very next morning, 5 o'clock call time, and it's straight to the catwalk show.
What would you say is most important in Mission Catwalk acting as a launching pad for these emerging designers?
Overall, I would say it's a full grooming package for them, preparing them for the industry. And with Mercedes Gonzalez this season, they're getting that full grooming. So even if you don't win the overall package, you come out so much more prepared for the industry.
You mentioned in an interview some time back how hard it was seeking funding for your first season of Mission Catwalk.
It was difficult. It was a new TV show, so being a new program, it's even more difficult to get funding, and it's become easier over the years, and we've also had to find ways to cut costs. And now we're finally at a level where, you know, we're comfortable. And even in the fashion industry, for designers who are trying to start up their clothing line, it's difficult to find funding, and not everyone can afford to go to the bank for a loan. They don't have the collateral and so forth.
What do you think are some major issues we have with our fashion industry right now?
The major issue we have now with the fashion industry is most of our fashion designers are not professionally trained. We didn't have a fashion program in Jamaica for a very long time. So everyone, I'd say 95% of the designers are self-taught. And because of that, important aspects of how to run a fashion business, they don't understand. How to put together a collection, you know, color theory, everything to do with marketing and so forth. They just don't understand. They just know that they have this skill, they have this talent, and people want to buy stuff from them. The garment industry, the challenges there would be utility cost and labor cost. So we lost the market to China, like Mexico and most other countries than the United States. And that was a challenge for us. The industry took a blow.
What would you say are some opportunities that now exist in the fashion industry, especially here in Jamaica?
I think we're at a prime moment now with, you know, the growth of the industry in terms of having a fashion program. We have persons who are open to wearing local designers even more, because everything is now about mass market and mass production, and people are getting tired of that. It happens very often. You go to a wedding and 3 people turn up in the same BCBG dress, because you're going to a wedding, you go to Miami, and they all go to Aventura, they all go into the same BCBG, and they all choose the same dress from that season. And they end up at the wedding in the same dress.
Tell me about your relationship with Designers Guild and what exactly is it that they do?
Well, the Designers Guild is a professional non-profit organization that really looks out for the interest of Jamaican designers. It started in 2010, a group of designers and myself who we tend to share information and interact with each other a lot and try to help each other to grow. And we thought, you know, there really wasn't a body that really was looking out for us or benefiting us at that time. And we decided to start an official guild of designers. And our first project was to fund Edna Manley College. They had a fashion program, but they only had 2 sewing machines. And we rallied around and got sponsorship and funding to set up the space. And it was also a partnership with Mission Catwalk.
Tell me about future plans, not only for Mission Catwalk, but Designer Guild.
Future plans for the Designers Guild would be to continue to represent the interest of local designers. We want to partner with international bodies to, you know, create international synergy and more opportunities for our designers. We're taking a contingency of designers to edit trade show in New York, and we're trying to focus more on the retail business part of things. Shifting our focus from fashion shows, because fashion shows in Jamaica tend to be seen as entertainment, and internationally, when a designer does a fashion show, it usually means the business part is taken care of already.
All human life is precious. Respect life. No more senseless killing. No more.
The Good Life, your trusted source for useful health and wellness information, lifestyle tips for the mind, body, and soul. Tune in Tuesdays at 8:30 p.m. on Business Access TV. She is committed to establishing Jamaica as the fashion hub of the Caribbean and launched the Collection Moda, a series of events in 2010. Let's chat with Kerry Ann Clark. So you attended the Parsons School of Design. Tell me about your background.
I have always had an interest in the fashion industry, and I am one of these people who believe that you should find out what you're passionate about and pursue your dream. So, staying true to that mantra, I wanted to study in Paris because Paris is the fashion capital of the world. So I did a little research, found out that Parsons School of Design had a campus in Paris, applied, as accepted, and at age 18 I went to study fashion at Parsons School of Design, which is one of the most prestigious fashion schools in the fashion capital of the world. Having studied in Paris for 5 years, the school allowed us to to attend multiple fashion shows of like fashion bigwigs. I'm talking about the Versace's, the Yves Saint Laurent, the Christian Lacroix. We also attended trade show platforms from like textile manufacturing to clothing manufacturing to anything that industry insiders needed to know. And then of course, being in Paris, we had to, as a part of our curriculum also, attend the opera, go to museums, and it was just an amazing experience. I would like honestly say it was one of the most fascinating experiences thus far in my life.
How do you move from year to year to year? I think a lot of people would say that Jamaican pieces especially tend to be overpriced. They can't afford them.
So they are higher priced because, for example, this designer, she's a textile graduate from the Edna School, and she actually designs her fabrics and then gets her fabrics made and printed in New York, and then she brings it in and makes her work. So that is a lot of work, and that is going to be more costly than going to a fashion store and buying fabric store and buying fabric and making it. But I don't think it's overpriced. You can't put a price on creativity.
Okay. At what point did you decide to open Kerry Man, Woman and Home?
After returning to Jamaica, I helped my parents in the family business. I'm from a business-oriented background for about 3 years, and then I saw a need for a boutique like mine, and I decided to create a boutique to fulfill my passion and create a business. So why not create business from a passion?
At what point did you transition from Kerry Man, Woman and Home to the Collection Moda?
So Kerry Man, Woman Home is celebrating 12 years in the retail industry in Jamaica, and I guess because I am passionate about the fashion industry, I love creative minds and creative geniuses. They excite me. And with the store, I'd always showcase local talent. And over time, I was helping more and more local designers. And what was happening was I was spending a lot of time helping a designer today, another designer tomorrow, whether it was for advice or for mentorship or guidance or sharing advice. And again, it was a natural synergy. Why not create a platform where I can try to help, along with a team of persons, multiple emerging talents and designers, rather than spending one day and another day and another day helping one. So it's trying to grow and help more people over a period of time.
So let's get into the Collection Moda. What exactly is the Collection Moda?
So the Collection Moda, as I said, was born from me seeing the need to assist, to share knowledge and so forth. And the mandate of the Collection Moda is to provide a platform for creative talent, not just fashion designers, but creative talent in Jamaica and eventually in the region, in the CARICOM, and help to give them a platform. So it's not a fashion show only, it consists of a series of events. And basically that's the mandate of the series.
And how has it been?
It's been great. We're in the 4th year. There are different components to the series of events. We have a grant, a first global grant, where one person is awarded a cash award of $250,000. Last year we had about 90 applicants. This year we're hoping to have 120. We have a mode of business, which is a business seminar where we invite persons internationally and locally who are industry specialists to share their knowledge with the attendees. We have a lifestyle magazine, which is an annual publication featuring not only local talent, again, but regional talent. And then we have Moda Market, and that is where the business unfolds. We have the invitation only runway show.
What challenges would you say that you face each staging of the collection, Moda?
Well, we are growing, and I think the challenge is to find the right team, in finding the right team to carry out, because it's a lot of work and it's a labor of love. And obviously it's not going to happen overnight. As I said, we're in the 4th year. We have seen steady growth from year to year, whether, especially with Moda Market. And Moda Market is what we want. Our aim with Moda Market is for it to be the regional platform for emerging talent.
Do you have any advice for those people who want to get into the fashion industry? Maybe not necessarily a designer, stylist.
I would definitely say, you know, a lot of people look at the fashion industry and what they see is the finished product. It's a hard industry. It's difficult. Not only, we don't have manufacturing here. You asked what opportunity could arise. You know, you never know. That's an opportunity. We could bring manufacturing back to Jamaica. If not, we could work with the other CARICOM islands and see how we could manufacture and have the free trade amongst ourselves. But that is an opportunity. But I definitely would say it is not an easy industry. It's a lot of work. It is planning. It takes dedication. You have to be organized because it's an industry that operates 6 months in advance. You know, when you go to fashion weeks, you're looking at collections for the following year and for the following season. So you need to be organized, you need to understand that, and you need a business partner. You can't just be brain A-side, like a creative brain. You have to have a good balance.
So what are the future plans for not only the collection Moda, but Carrie Man Woman Home and Carrie Ann Clark?
Well, for Carrie Man Woman Home, we're looking at going e-commerce very soon, because that is the future of the retail industry, and it's a good add-on. Possibly opening in other islands again. And for the collection Moda, as I said, our grand vision, for Carrie Man Woman Home, I travel, I'd say, several times a year to various trade shows, New York, Vegas, Atlanta. And this is one of the inspirations to see the business behind it, because that is where all the buyers and the fashion insiders go, and there are seminars and you learn more, and you know, you get tips for retail, you get tips for designers, and you're exposed to the people who manufacture, the designers, and it should happen here. We have the talent here.
Our women are the backbone of our society. They deserve to be protected and respected. Domestic violence is not okay. Speak up and speak out. No more violence against women.
We are serious about the business of real estate, so catch Home Sweet Home Sundays at 4:30 p.m. or if you missed it, check our website at batvja.com.
Laura Lee Jones is the head of the Textiles and Fiber Arts Department here at Edna Manley College. She'll talk to us about how their fashion program is acting as a fashion incubator. So give us some background on Edna Manley College.
Edna Manley College is a fabulous space, and that's just my personal opinion being a graduate. It's that space where you have the opportunity to really explore your creative juices. You know, we have art, we have drama, we have dance, we have music, and we also have our arts management program. So it's really that place where you can create, be.
At what point did Edna Manley College feel that it was necessary to, you know, have their own fashion-related type programs like textile and fiber arts?
The program is still relatively new. We're having our second batch of graduates this year. But the process that got that in train was a longer process because, of course, you had to write the courses for the program. So that, I would say, maybe was going on for about 4 years prior. And then the program came on stream, and we had the first set last year. It's a 4-year program, BFA, 4 years. And then we have our second set this year. So we're really still in the baby stages.
So as the head of the textiles and fiber arts department, how would you say that Edna Manley College is now contributing to our local fashion scene?
The contribution to our fashion industry is that we'll have individuals who are trained, you know, individuals who understand some of the fundamental elements of design, of art, and how they bring that to their design process as designers, as fashion designers, understanding the color dynamics, understanding fabric, being innovative, because we don't only focus on just buying fabric to create a style. You can make your own fabric, you can print your own fabric, you can dye your own fabrics. And that's the unique feature that Edna Manley brings to the program.
We have a number of different people here locally who are trying to turn Jamaica in a fashion destination. They're trying to put Jamaica on the map. What would you say is some key important things that need to happen in order for that to become a reality?
Okay, so we've started with education. So Edna Manley has a BFA program because it's not only creative, right? We find sometimes we have people who are very, very creative, mucho talent, but then how do I get that to market? How do I manage my business? They say that artists don't make good business people, but we want to change that.
So tell me about the textile and fiber arts department.
My lovely department. Textile and fiber arts department, we offer textile and fiber arts, so you can major in weaving, so you make fabric. You can do textile and fiber arts, where you're looking at the fiber art elements. So if you want to do pieces for museum and galleries, there's that focus, the art focus. There's also the fashion program. This is the newest addition to the textile and fiber arts department. So we don't have a fashion department. So the fashion program is situated in the textile and fiber arts department.
What do you think can be done from a government standpoint to, I guess, invest more in our fashion industry here and make it more profitable for stakeholders across the board?
There's a lot that can be done, and I think the government has been making some strides. So as I said, JVDC with its IRC, there is an initiative that's coming through the Ministry of, through JAMPRO's office, the Ministry of Investment. I can't remember the exact ministry now. And so they have a group of fashion designers and others who are looking at some programs to help strengthen, to build out that value chain. You have agencies like your JMA, for example. So there are pockets of associations and business advisory groups that are there.
So talk to us about some success stories from your graduates.
Whoa. There's Nicole Bryan. Nicole working through Kerry Man Woman Home, Kerry and Clark, just Yendi Phillips. She had some major thing in Canada. So Nicole was able to be the one who created her designs for this fabulous interview. Kerry is also working with some of my graduates this year and looking at projects for Tessan. So I think there is Makeda who did something for Tessan. and Julianne Walker, who also did something for Tessan. I want to see people come to Jamaica. I want to see buyers coming to Jamaica and scouting out for new talent, for new collections to showcase in their stores overseas. Yeah, and I speak about overseas because our market is small. Jamaica is small, 2.5 million. Not enough for all the creativity that is here. So we have to look, I speak of the global space, we have to look out, right? And if we're really going to contribute to GDP, we need to be exporting more of our products to the rest of the world.
So in regards to your fashion program here, what does Edna Manley College plan to achieve with it?
The program is growing, so I think if we look at an achievement, one of the things we wanted to see was growth. And I do have more and more students coming in who are coming in specific for the fashion. So that in itself is growing. Well, what we plan to achieve is, as I said before, having trained designers, fashion designers. The focus is heavily, of course, on design. We hope that the program will build out where we can get stronger on the business side of fashion. So that brings a better balance. So I'm creative, but I'm also understanding the business side.
And that's it for this week on Cameo. We spoke to 3 people who are acting as fashion incubators to grow our local fashion industry. I'm Amita Prasad Webb. Until next time, see you later.
Ready for cable for as little as $100? Ready for no monthly cable bill? Ready for 10 TV channels absolutely free? Then pick up our Ready TV box at authorized stores for $4,500. Hook it up to your TV set, then top it up with Ready Credit for 1, 7, or 30 days. Buy now and get $1,000 free Ready Credit and start watching your favorite shows. Pick it up, hook it up, top it up. Ready TV. Prepaid cable TV when you're ready. Now serving Kingston and St. Catherine. Limited time offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
I do have a dream, and I know you have a dream, that we can make Jamaica the place of choice for you to choose to live, to work, to do business.
We are going for the Jamaica we want. Making steady progress to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals in our National Development Plan, Vision 2030 Jamaica. We have teamed up with valued partners, working through strong institutions to reduce inequalities in our society. We commit to being responsible in our production and consumption, ensuring we build sustainable communities in harmony with nature. Jamaica is making significant strides in providing quality, lifelong education for all, enabling our people to be engaged in decent work to drive economic growth, equipping men and women with the skills to build resilient infrastructure, promote sustainable industry, foster innovation, and utilize new technologies. Urgent action is being taken to manage natural resources responsibly, protecting clean water sources, ensuring access to water and sanitation for all, diversifying to alternative energy sources, conserving our environment and sustaining life below water and on land. Jamaica is making moves to ensure healthy lifestyles for the well-being of our people. We're promoting sustainable agriculture to achieve food security, improve nutrition, and end extreme hunger, putting in the work to end poverty in all its forms. We're on track in achieving our Sustainable Development Goals through realizing our Vision 2030 We will leave no one behind.
chilling right now, cause we're winning right now.
You're watching Business Access TV.
Business Access TV.
Business Access.
Business Access TV.
Serious.
Serious.
Serious about business.
Crime, corruption, and criminal justice. AmCham, the American Chamber of Commerce, is shining a light on these topics here at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel in a luncheon that's looking at how these affect Jamaica's trade and investment potential. I'm Elon Parkinson. Let's take a look at the highlights.
One of the things that I realize is that having these forums, it provides us with an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to improve. And all members should give your organization a round of applause. Put your hands together for it. For weeks, I was talking about business unusual. For weeks, that was the last one on the economy that you guys had. And I was in cocktail conversation sounding smarter than I am just by virtue of having been in the room. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out today. I'm going to apologize for the National Security Minister, Dr. Horace Chang. He did intend to be here, but he was called at the last minute to Parliament. I believe he has a parliamentary committee that he must be at, so they've summoned him. You know, the numbers are important in these committees to make quorum and to participate in discussions at Gordon House, so he won't be with us today. The DPP, the Director of Public Prosecutions, Paula Llewellyn, is here. Thank you very much for being here with us today, as is Dirk Harrison, the acting head of the Corruption Prosecution Division at the Integrity Commission. Always glad to have Professor Anthony Clayton, a respected criminologist, here with us today. Jason Fraser is the country rep of the USAID. Thank you very much, and looking forward to hearing their presentations later today. At this time, I'm going to invite Alison Peart, the president of AmCham of Jamaica, to give the official welcome.
Good afternoon, everybody. You know, we look so officious and so quiet. It's very, very important business, but I'm hoping today you're going to learn a lot more. You're going to leave here understanding more about some of the issues, and more importantly, with some solutions. Because it's one thing to speak about our issues, but if we don't find a solution, we're just a talk shop. And I love Nationwide on the radio, but we don't just want to talk, we want to come up with some solutions. So as the president of the American Chamber of Commerce in Jamaica, we thought it very important. We talk about how wonderful the economy was. Our last session was business unusual. But if we have crime issues, if people don't feel, Jamaicans don't feel comfortable going about their daily lives, if our foreign investors don't feel comfortable, if our children, who are our future, have issues, where are we as a nation? So we thought it very important to bring together a panel that would engage in the dialogue about crime, corruption, criminal justice. How does it affect our trade and investment? Because it makes no sense to talk about our GDP growing or our debt to GDP if we're dying. It makes no sense if our future is tied to crime. So this dialogue is very, 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 very important, and I'm very happy you're here with us.
Okay, the question today is how much crime and corruption and a dysfunctional justice system are actually inhibiting the development of Jamaica and inward investment. Because we don't just have one problem, we have quite a complex array of problems. And it's quite hard to know how much we should attribute to any one of these and how much any one of these is contributing to what has historically been a very low rate of growth and significant difficulties in attracting inward investment and retaining domestic capital and retaining human capital. These are the headline ones. We have one of the highest rates of violence in the world. We have a large number, a significant number of gangs. About 80% of our homicide are gang-related. The rest are primarily domestic violence. So the fact that we have a large number of gangs is clearly a major factor in maintaining one of the world's highest levels of homicide. There are fundamental challenges still in our system of governance. As I'll be going on to say in a few minutes, we have people in public life who help to create this problem with gangs and high levels of violence, and that link has never been yet severed, and that is still a challenge that we have yet to face. What, of course, that does is it undermines the moral authority of government. If you have a situation where all the bad guys are out there and everybody in government is honest and competent, it's not really very difficult to deal with the problems of crime. The problem is when the boundaries between the two are blurred, and when you have criminals who are getting high-level political protection. At that point, it's much, much harder to deal with the issues. Of course, what that feeds is a culture of cynicism, low trust, and that has a great deal to do with sustaining a high level of violence. In any country where you see that people do not trust the police and do not trust the justice system, they're much more likely to have recourse to violence to solve their issues and disputes. So it's partly reflecting the fact that we've still got deep weaknesses in our system of governance. But let's put this in a little context. There's only one demographic for whom violence is the leading cause of premature morbidity, which is young males, late teens, early 20s. For every other demographic, it's actually cheeseburgers that are more likely to kill you. We've got issues with, like every other country, with steeply rising rates of non-communicable diseases. And we can't also forget the fact that we have perennial challenges with energy security, increasingly with water security, which is related, because years ago we made the decision that everybody must be on a piped water supply, which means that we're now committed to a program of pumping water up hillsides, which means that if our energy system goes down, our water system goes down too. In hindsight, perhaps that wasn't a very good decision. So we've got issues with energy, water security, and more generally food and access to resources. We live in a seismically active part of the world. We live in the hurricane belt. There's challenges with emerging exotic diseases, and of course we've got a background issue really serious now, as people have started to realize with climate change. You may have heard that this summer is the hottest ever recorded in Jamaica's history. And in fact, there's now real grounds for concern that we've gone past an irrevocable point, and that we will not ever revert back to the low temperatures of the past. So this is something that we may now have to make a permanent adjustment to.
Business current affairs you can relate to. Frank, credible discussion. On point, dissecting the issues. Offering solutions to Jamaica's challenges. On Point, Thursdays at 8 p.m. on Business Access TV.
One of our highest priorities of the U.S. government in Jamaica is to work with our counterparts to interdict Jamaican and Caribbean-based transnational criminal activity, including narcotics and arms trafficking, trafficking in persons, and financial fraud targeting U.S. citizens. The U.S. government has also invested heavily in supporting anti-corruption initiatives with the civil society and Jamaican government, as well as supported improvements in the justice system. In total, the U.S. government invests about $12 million in security-related programming annually, which does not include all the various partnerships and collaborations that our various U.S. government agencies have with their counterparts. In fact, USAID Jamaica just advertised a broad agency announcement to co-design our flagship community violence prevention activity with key stakeholders such as the government, academia, and private sector. This unique co-creation approach encourages key stakeholders to co-create and deliver the services that are vital to prevent youth crime and violence at the community level. Law enforcement and criminal justice are important to controlling crime, as we all know, and corruption. But we also have to address the underlying social challenges that both cause and contribute to crime. Within the broad range of U.S. cooperation on crime, and this is where USAID comes in, we partner with the government and civil society on a range of programs to address the root causes of crime in Jamaica. So in the area of community safety and security, and building upon past successes with community-based policing, USAID focuses on the strengthening of community-based and civil society organizations, the promotion of community-driven activities, the development of long-term champions of a culture of lawfulness, and the enhancement of ministries, departments, and agencies of the state to be more community-oriented institutions. In this way, we believe that we contribute to building safer communities, strengthening social cohesion, and improving civic engagement participation. USAID also works with holistic youth-friendly approaches that aims to assist at-risk youth in becoming active citizens through the engagement of different social, educational, behavioral, and recreational activities. This approach includes three main areas regarding youth involved in criminality: prevention, intervention, and rehabilitation, including diversion activities as alternatives to traditional incarceration for first-time offenders. Youth also develop skills through educational programs which introduce them to fundamental concepts in business, economics, individual accountability, and entrepreneurship. USAID expects that life skills and technical training will increase opportunities for at-risk youth to work within the legitimate economy, thereby reducing the likelihood of involvement in gang and criminal activity. In Jamaica, relationships with key public sector, private sector, and donor agency partners are being leveraged to create programs to build skills and to identify work options for youth. USAID also works in the youth remandee centers, which includes case management follow-up to facilitate at-risk youth acquiring job and education opportunities when they are released. In the area of corruption, the Combating Corruption in Jamaica project has not only built public demand for more effective action against corruption through awareness campaigns, but has also provided training to government and civil society partners to build capacity and increase advocacy. The project is expected to have an impact on the nation's capacity and the ability to effectively control instances of and attitudes towards corruption in general and political corruption in particular. So what's the role of the private sector in addressing the root causes? That's why we're all here today. Many of you are representing private sector organizations. How can the private sector be a key partner in addressing some of these root causes? Obviously, many of you are part of the community, and so you have an interest. Your companies are often affected by the high rates of crime and corruption. So it's important that government, international partners who support government, NGOs, and the private sector work together to address these issues. We've all been to various forums on issues surrounding crime in Jamaica. I think the private sector here needs to continue to ask itself what it is doing to address the issue. Clearly, advocacy is important to press for resources, accountability, and support in combating crime. But there's much more that can be done to invest in communities to make them safer and create opportunities for the next generation to be prosperous. Looking ahead, we welcome the opportunity to increase our engagement with the private sector on these challenges because of the energy and innovation that they typically bring to the table. USAID is a learning agency, and we are constantly exploring how to improve our work and increase our impact. So as we streamline our programs and look for new strategic partners, we invite the private sector to partner with us as we both work towards the common goal of helping Jamaicans thrive.
There's this sense of a godlike syndrome that during some transactions an oversight body must lap its tail or virtually hold its corner in the name of investment. There are different roles for each stakeholder. Each must stay in their lane and accept criticism when constructively made. On the contrary, ladies and gentlemen, potential investors, in fact, should be happy that the business environment observes the rule of law and that democracy flourishes with built-in checks and balances. If I were an investor about to enter Jamaica, it's incumbent on me and my handlers to look out for red flags and indicators of the environment. I name a few on a list that is not exhaustive. 1, determine the role of the oversight body. It must be effective, efficient, fearless, and it must be respected. What, if any, comment does the oversight body have to say on a process or an investment opportunity that you wish to enter? The engagement, ladies and gentlemen, of investors and investor confidence, existing and thriving, must be viewed on a virtual 2-lane highway. That is a 2-way street with rules and guidelines being applicable. 2, does the police service support and protect local and non-Jamaican community members? Do they communicate with all persons? Are they accessible at all times? Maintain a presence that the visitor or citizen believes and recognizes that if they do wrong, they'll be detected. But lines of communication must always be in place. For too long in this blessed country, the notion exists that unless someone knows you and you not knowing them, nothing will happen. That needs to end. In a time of real emergency, the joke is told, unless you have on speed dial a member of the police force, the response time to a complaint is sometimes unacceptable. Another thing that I would think an investor would look for, there must be a criminal justice system that is efficient and effective, and we must congratulate the learned Chief Justice for the renaissance and the role of the DPP's office in the renaissance that is taking place now. But we must also have financial services, a banking system, healthcare facilities. They must be adequate, to name a few components. Importantly, ladies and gentlemen, on Jamaica's stock exchange record, Michael Reagan, writing in Bloomberg Business Week, January 18, 2019, states the Jamaican Stock Exchange is the world's best performing. Its outperformance over the past 5 years is even more striking. Jamaica's stocks have surged almost 300%, more than quadrupling the next best performing national benchmark and septupling the S&P Standard & Poor's 500's advance. I make bold to say that the very important successes must be highlighted, with all the negatives on crime and violence reported in the last 48 hours in Jamaica. Also, the awards in the tourism sector must also be celebrated. However, we must do better. Ladies and gentlemen, what are some of the solutions? Government agencies must work together all the time and set aside jealousies and petty matters which have no place in a professional setting. Interagency cooperation and collaboration must be emphasized and practiced. We must build bridges and stop tearing down, emasculating, and ridiculing persons. The fact that you do not agree is no reason to disrespect. Professionalism is non-negotiable. We must have a review of the timelines to review governance structures. Oftentimes, pieces of legislation give you 3 years to review a legislation. You see in 1 year, nothing is happening. The parliamentary caucus needs to do something about that. We must enhance whistleblowing regimes and encourage the discourse, changing the discourse to, in my words, inform or live. Stop saying inform or dead, inform or live. I must admit, I'm an informer. I'm a proud one. I'm an informer. Tell me something today, I'm going to tell the police tomorrow. We need to modernize the law enforcement units and bring outstanding laws into operation. We need public education to sensitize the world that the perception of corruption or actual is not a reflection of the overwhelming majority of law-abiding Jamaicans. We need to ensure that the police and our oversight bodies work to regain public trust. The police must maintain presence not just in hotspots, but also generally. It will help to rebuild issues of insecurity. I pause here as I listen to Professor Clayton. In the last month, I visited Cayman. The police carry no guns. A year before, I went to Turks and Caicos. The police had no guns. I visited Grenada a few times. The police had no guns. They have their problems, but I felt safe. I am walking in this, my beloved country, and we're turning and looking behind us every minute. But our Caribbean neighbors, and Professor Clayton showed us the figures, I feel safe. We need to look at that. Ladies and gentlemen, as I close, I reiterate that the government of Jamaica, the ministries, the departments, the statutory bodies, to name a few, must work united to create that package, that which is seen by the outside world, with all the various components and elements that they look at, and which they consider, and which will have the effect to harness growth and encourage investor confidence. But most importantly, we must leave our partners with the belief that integrity is non-negotiable. Honesty is paramount, not by word of mouth, but by our actions. And despite our problems, crime and corruption, that they can and humbly should consider investing in our country to bring about change for good. Acknowledging that the improvement of the basic standards of life may have the effect of changing behavior, but I readily admit we can't legislate for good behavior.
Sundays at 4:30 p.m. It's all about Home Sweet Home. Get your half-hour dose of the business of real estate, from laws and concepts to reality, building, buying, or renting. Or what about trends in decor or renovations? Home Sweet Home will keep you up to date.
In respect of what it takes to inspire confidence, I'm a plain speaker, and I will say, I believe that what is happening in our country, education is the key. I believe that a lot of our children, some of those who come from environments where they are victims of poor and dysfunctional parenting, we need to reintroduce civics in all its forms back within the schools, from the time of the basic school, because there are a lot of our children. People complain that, okay, are the schools not doing enough? But they may go to school, the teachers try their best, and they go back into an environment that is like a black hole of nothingness, because there's no value system, no values, positive values and attitudes. And yet if you take that child and you put that child in another environment, you have intervention, positive intervention, you would be surprised to see the beautiful diamond coming from the rough. So I'm really a big believer in education. Now, another pet peeve of mine is that, and I prosecute police officers, I do not subscribe to the throwing the baby with the bathwater approach. Everybody knows their functions best. But I am not a public official who believes, unless it is necessary in the interests of justice, to make gratuitous comments in terms of seeking to tear down my colleagues anywhere. And I am not into using speculation to put out there to join the call for crucify him, crucify her in the public domain, where you have the court of public opinion demanding, just like the little old ladies who were knitting at the time in The Tale of Two Cities and saying for the noblemen, chop off their heads. I am not into that. At the Director of Public Prosecution's Office, we deal with two things: the law and evidence. Personal emotion, personalities, we are not into it. So even if the court of public opinion or any other opinion would like to see the guillotined head of an individual on a platter, if there is no evidence to prosecute, to mount a viable prosecution, then as a matter of law, we have to say so. And I will say, and it's the first time I'm saying it publicly, first time, and I say it with the greatest of respect, that this is why on occasion, when I've been asked privately, I have registered privately a concern when you have no firewall between agencies that both investigate and prosecute. Because if you are not careful, you run away in the court of public opinion, and the court of law has to catch up. And by the time it gets to court, after a lot of reputational damage has been done, when you look at it and the defense counsel gets up and says, they are putting the prosecution in limine to prove what is there, the judge asks. And when you pare away what is there, there's nothing there as a matter of law. So sometimes in the court of public opinion, the members of the public would want to see one thing, but both the police and I know that in the court of law, it's either you have to have cogent, credible, reliable, admissible evidence. If you don't have it, then no matter how egregious the conduct of an individual is, then you don't have a case. Then you have to look at the second layer in terms of governance and accountability. And this is where public opinion, civil society can force the government of the day to make sure that all the particular oversight agencies, that they have teeth, that they are well structured, and that the will, the political will is there to make sure that the teeth are not rickety in the oversight agencies, but they can stand up. In other words, if you put a piece of cane in the mouth of the teeth of that oversight agency, the teeth won't come out. It is the cane that will suffer damage.
Riveting perspectives and indeed sobering statistics coming from the AmCham empaneled team here at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel. You're watching Business Access TV, serious about business.
Caring Hands Season 3 continues to effect change in a changing environment.
Many of us were raised by grandmothers, right? So, I mean, we know the wisdom that these people have.
Going beyond business.
The little leaders of today are our leaders of tomorrow. And with the proper education, we'll have very good leadership coming from that.
That's Season 3 of Caring Hands, creating change and shaping lives, every Sunday at 5:30 p.m. on Business Access TV.
On Point is brought to you by Crow Jamaica.
A very good evening and welcome to On Point. My name is Patria Kay and I'm your host.
And I'm Dennis Chung.
Welcome back.
Yeah, welcome back. It has been a while.
It has been a while. It's good to be back. You miss TV?
I'd be lying if I said yes.
And here we are. We're going to make it good, correct?
Yeah.
What's been on the topic for you for the last week or so?
The main one that has taken up a lot of chit-chat in the regular media, traditional media, social media, is this way that ACP Welsh has acted. You know, I think there's a time and place for everything, but certainly in violating traffic laws is not a time for repentance and not a time for confessionals. You know, we have a serious problem with discipline on the roads. And we have to ensure that we send the right message.
Well, absolutely. I think the commissioner recognized the error in his ways in appointing him, and very swiftly, before you could get used to calling him head of PSTEB, less than 2 weeks, and he was out of the chair. And I think perhaps it was a right move. I think the traffic matters. What PSTEB has a responsibility to kind of manage in the country is just too important for you to be blundering, certainly in the first 2 weeks of office. So, yeah.
Blunder not once, but twice.
Absolutely. I think that matter with the aggressive Mercedes wasn't handled the way it ought to. I've said in another space, and I'll say it here as well, when you call a press conference, have in mind what you expect the media to take away as a story. And I can't possibly imagine what the story was that Sir Welsh wanted the media to take away from bringing them together on Dunrobin to say, shame on you, aggressive Mercedes-Benz driver, walk and sin no more.
Him on the hand, but patting him on the back.
And saying walk and sin no more. I mean,
and then for me, Patria, the head of the Road Safety Council was actually in support of it, which for me is also frightening, because these are the two primary bodies who are supposed to ensure that there is proper safety on the roads.
Another matter that's certainly on the table, and putting on my weather girl hat, it is the hurricane season, and we're approaching actually the peak of the hurricane season, which comes around the first and second weekend of September. And true to form, Tropical Storm Dorian approaches the Central Caribbean. Our neighbors, Barbados, have already dealt with it, and it comes closer into our territory. And if nothing else, it's a reminder for us to be prepared.
It is. If there's one thing to take comfort in, though, and you can tell me as someone who's an expert in weather, hurricanes tend to take the path that the previous one has taken.
True. There is history that happens, yes.
Yeah.
So you're saying...
I'm sorry. I'm saying that, you know, it's a good thing that this one has veered away from us.
I take some comfort in it, but not total, especially when you look at the models. I mean, no two hurricanes follow exactly the same path. And because the Caribbean is so small, if a system happens to veer ever so slightly, you can talk about the difference in destruction one country and another.
But let me ask you this though, Patria. Why is it that Jamaica seems to be so lucky that they either go up or down? Is it because of the land around us?
Boy, there are all kinds of theories that are put on the table, none of which we can concretely say this is it. But the Blue Mountain Range is one of those things that people think it's one of those things that keeps things away. And in the same breath, we can ask the question, why is it that Haiti is so unlucky? That so many things that, I mean, the DR is right there beside them. And if you look at the kind of direct hits that Haiti has gotten in comparison to the DR, it's phenomenal. It's a kind of thing that requires study over time. But because weather is not an exact science, the best that we can do is prepare, and prepare we should.
Yeah, we definitely should.
Well, folks, we've got a lot to talk about in today's show. Top of the list is going to be the fact that Jamaica's standby agreement with the IMF comes to an end in November. We couldn't let him go without talking to him. The IMF's representative to Jamaica, Dr. Constant Lankeng Ngwana, stops by for one of his very last interviews before he leaves the country.
And a little later in the show, we're going to be talking about the possibility of a recession. Can Jamaica withstand the economic shocks of another possible global recession. We're going to be speaking about that.
But folks, before all of that, we're actually going to take a look at some of the news stories that made the rounds this week.
At number 5, the massive fires in the Amazon rainforest continue to blaze this week. It's been 3 weeks, and the satellite images have shown that at one point since the blaze started, there were over 9,000 fires raging. Brazil's National Institute for Space Research has reported at least 74,000 fires in the Amazon this year so far, an increase of 84% compared to the same time last year. Meanwhile, G7 countries have promised 20 million euros in aid for the rainforest. At number 4, a judge in the U.S. state of Oklahoma has ruled that drug maker Johnson & Johnson must pay $572 million for its part in fueling the state's opioid addiction crisis. The case was the first to go to trial out of thousands of lawsuits filed against opioid makers and distributors. Immediately after the judgment, Johnson & Johnson said it would appeal. At number 3, the Economic Program Oversight Committee (EPOC) will continue its monitoring role of Jamaica's economic reform program beyond the end of the precautionary standby arrangement with the International Monetary Fund (IMF), which ends this November. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark says the committee will have a broader base to include civil society members. The minister has appointed the current co-chair of EPOC, Keith Duncan, to be chairman of the expanded committee. At number 2, the Bank of Jamaica BOJ has further reduced the policy interest rate on deposit-taking institutions' overnight placements. The rate was cut by 25 basis points to 0.5% effective Wednesday, August 28. The BOJ says the decision reflects its assessment that inflation is projected to average 4.3% over the next 8 quarters, which is within the 4 to 6% target range. However, the central bank noted that in the absence of a policy response, inflation is likely to fall below the target's lower limit at various points over the period. And in the number 1 spot this week, Jamaica's economy grew 1% during the first quarter of the fiscal year. Director General of the Planning Institute of Jamaica PIOJ, Dr. Wayne Henry, says the growth in the April to June 2019 quarter was spurred primarily by a 1.4% expansion of the services industry. The PIOJ says this quarter's growth number extends Jamaica's growth trend to 18 consecutive quarters, or 4.5 years, despite the overall flat performance in the goods producing industry.
When we come back, life after Jamaica's latest IMF program, not just for the country, but also for Jamaica's IMF representative, Dr. Constant Longkeng Nguana. We talk to him after the break.
Taking the pain out of the audit preparation. Crow Jamaica now offers audit management services, AMS. With AMS, Crow team manages your external audit process by providing the following. 1. Prepare and review schedules for your external auditors. 2. Prepare responses to your external audit team queries. 3. Assign our team members to locate supporting documents during field work. 4. Draft financial statements in accordance with IFRS to supply to your external auditors. 5. Provide guidance to your internal accounting staff regarding classification and recording of transactions. 6. Review your general ledger for accuracy. 7. Prepare necessary journal entries. 8. Prepare fixed asset register. 9. Prepare accounting and operational manual for effective internal control. 10. Liaise with the company external auditors. We work with your team to achieve timely and effective external audits, resulting in timely completion of your audited financial statement, while your current staff focuses on their daily activities. Contact us, info@crowhorwath.com.jm. Website, www.crow.com/jm. Crow Jamaica Risk Management Services, RMS. Risk management has become indispensable to a company's business operations and management strategy in this complex environment nowadays. Crow Jamaica risk management experts help to turn every risk into an opportunity. We are experienced in providing customized solutions to manage risks and increase transparency and accountability of the companies. Our core services include internal audit, internal control review, corporate governance, corporate compliance, etc. Our team can help you make smarter, more effective decisions. Let's have a conversation. Contact us at email people@crowjm.com, website www.crowjm.com.
Welcome back to On Point. There are increasing talks about a global slowdown and a looming recession.
And the US-China trade war isn't making things any better. Here's more on that.
Buzz about an American recession is growing louder after Wall Street suffered its biggest day drop last week. According to the latest data released by IHS Markit, the U.S. Manufacturing Purchasing Managers Index dropped to 49.9 in August, flashing a sign of contraction for the first time since September 2009. Any indicator that's below the neutral 50 threshold is considered a warning of contraction. On August 13th, the Trump administration delayed planned tariffs on China. The U.S. president earlier announced an additional 10% tariff on $300 billion worth of Chinese goods. In a separate move, the U.S. Commerce Department accepted Chinese tech giant Huawei for another 90 days from the so-called entities list for national security reasons. Ron Chengfei, the founder and CEO of Huawei, said Tuesday he expected no relief from U.S. export curbs given the political climate in Washington, but expressed confidence in the company's bright future. On Friday, Huawei released its latest artificial intelligence chip, Ascend 910, and its matching open-source computing framework, MindSport. The company says the new technology is part of its bid to expand into AI and semiconductors. While U.S. companies have long pleaded with the White House to stop the tit-for-tat tariff escalation, citing harm to consumers and their businesses, Mr. Trump has been undeterred. As the U.S. president counts on the economy to give him a second term in the White House, is the cost of the trade war hitting too close to home?
Joining us now to talk a little bit about Jamaica's ability to stand the shocks of a looming recession, we have Professor of International Business and Pro-Vice Chancellor at the University of the West Indies, Professor Denzel Williams. Welcome.
Thank you. What's happening? I mean, people are talking about a recession. I mean, people have memories of what happened in 2008, 2009. Are we in a better position today?
Well, it's interesting because before 2008, when you talked about a recession, people usually go back to 1939.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're talking about it just a decade after. The truth is that I think where we are now, there are signs that we can possibly get into a recession. As you would appreciate, the major factors that would be leading to this would be the uncertainty surrounding Brexit. If UK crashes out of the EU without a deal, that has a significant impact on the global economy.
Trade war.
And the next big one is the uncertainty surrounding US-China trade. Now, those things, and then you see Germany as well getting into some serious troubles. Now, if those signs continue within the next 12 to 24 months, there is no doubt that the world will be heading into a recession, because what will happen is that investors will be looking at trying to guess the game, and as a result of that, they will hold on in their investments, and as a result of that, global demand being suppressed, and there will also be a suppression in output.
Well,
now, if that is the case, then we're definitely heading for the recession.
I like to think of this, though, as a man-induced recession, because everything that made it happen is really just bad policy.
Well, you see, all of them are man-induced, but this one, especially is deliberate. Because really what is happening is that there is a kind of a lack of appreciation for economic fundamentals. And because of that lack of appreciation, then policymakers just think that they can do anything.
So it's a lack of appreciation by the
By the global
government,
policymakers, yes.
by the policymakers.
Yes, absolutely, because if you could just easily get up tomorrow morning, I think you can just impose a tariff on a country and expect that the country is not going to retaliate in some shape or form, or you can just take your country out of an economic union without putting proper measures in place to safeguard employment, safeguard production, then clearly you don't have an appreciation for the policy fundamentals, and you think that you can just make policy on the fly, and as a result of that, it will, just come into being. Well, that's not how economies work at all. There are certain fundamentals that you just have to stick to. But come back to your general point about Jamaica. The truth is that I hear commentators make the suggestion that Jamaica is in a better place today than they were 2008. And yes, while that is true, let us not lose sight of the fact that if this recession really materializes in the next 12 to 24 months, the truth is that Jamaica can be in a very tough place. As we will see from now, as you know, Dennis, you follow these numbers very well, but when Jamaica grows, the major sectors that grow would have been tourism, mining, agriculture. Once those grow, Jamaica naturally grows.
Yes.
Now, if you think about a slowdown in global demand, the first thing that's going to be hit would be the mining sector, as you see right now that is happening. And then tourism, and then remittances. Yes. And as you know, remittances has a significant impact as well on the level of disposable income that people have. And as a result of that, without remittance flow, a lot more people would be below the poverty line. So remittances will be hit as well. The bauxite sector will be heavily hit. Tourism will be heavily hit. If you have all those three being hit at the same time, Jamaica is in a tough position.
You're talking about 70% of your foreign exchange earnings.
Absolutely. So what you should not be doing is to take it lightly that although your macroeconomic fundamentals are stronger today than they were 2008, that if a recession comes, then you won't be heavily impacted. You will be heavily impacted. So what you need to do now is to prepare yourself so that you can have enough resources to stimulate local demand. That is really what we're going to have to do.
Because the argument coming out of, say, the Ministry of Tourism is we're diversifying our markets. Those markets that are recession risk, at a recession risk, which most of our tourists come from today, we're diversifying those markets. So we're looking at some other markets to be able to create a buffer. Not an argument that you buy.
That's not a bad argument, except to say that, remember, it's a global recession. Yes. It's not a US recession or a China recession. It will be a global recession. So what you'll have to do, the most foolproof policy that you have to start looking at is how you stimulate local demand. And to do that, you will have to have a good buffer in terms, and that is why it's important to start running a strong fiscal surplus now, so that if this thing should come, then you have something that you can use to stimulate demand in your local economy.
But how much so can we save ourselves? 5 million tourists, can we generate that kind of currency internally? When you talk about the mining numbers, there's nothing we can do there. And remittance, there's a heavy percentage of Jamaicans that are dependent on that remittance coming every
absolutely.
2 weeks.
But what I'm saying is that in order to cushion the impact, because if you don't have that fiscal space that can help you to actually stimulate local demand, for example, in construction, in road works, and all those types of things, then the impact will be even much greater. And so what you want to do is to be able to have that buffer that you can do that now. That is why it is important for you to run high primary surplus now and also run high fiscal surpluses now.
So you will fall, but the fall won't be as hard.
Yes. There's no doubt that you will fall.
Yeah, talk about that. So you talk about preparedness. One of the things I think that went wrong for us in 2008 was we had some senior cabinet ministers saying a recession is going to be good for us.
Yes, absolutely.
And
because again, because of the lack of understanding of that this is really a global recession, because the idea was that if there was a recession and the US get hit, then most businesses will move to us. Yes. And as a result of that, we would be better off. I think that was the thinking then, but recognizing that this is a global recession and the same businesses that you're expecting to move to you, they're the businesses that are being heavily hit. And as a result of that, they don't have the ability to spread themselves across the globe. So that's why the argument even about diversifying away from the recession is, yes, it can be an acute argument, but it's not the most sound argument that you can
what
make.
people don't understand is that when you have a recession is really that consumers stop buying.
That's the point.
And
exactly.
it don't matter where a business
Correct.
go to.
Correct.
If
Correct.
consumers stop buying. And the other thing I want
And that is why you need counter-cyclical policy, which is where a government now will have to stimulate the demand through government spending. But if you don't have the money to stimulate that demand through government spending, then you're in a worse position. And that's why I'm arguing that what you should have is government having the necessary resources now. So if that time should come and consumers are not spending, investors are not coming in, the government can at least trigger the aggregate demand so that you don't have that great of a fall.
New emerging industries that perhaps we would not have a strong presence with back in 2008 that we are developing now in a meaningful way. Things like the BPO, we're very dependent now, and our growth strategy is in things like the BPO servicing some of these very customers in these very markets that we're looking at a recession.
That will definitely take a hit because
takes a hit.
Yes, because if you think about it, the BPO will be servicing, just use an example, AT&T.
Right.
So if there's a global recession and AT&T has to lay off significant number of workers, meaning that a number of customers won't be going to AT&T again, then AT&T don't need all of your services that you're actually providing.
Well, talk about that now, Denzel, because one of the challenges for us, particularly with our bauxite sector too, is that our bauxite sector only does well when the global economy is doing well. Because we have a peculiar problem called labor productivity that works against us. Isn't that so? And if we don't address that, we'll always be one of the first hit.
Well, you see, as you talk about labor productivity, the challenge there is that there are a lot of inefficiencies in the system.
Yes.
And if you're not efficient, and at a time when you have a suppression in global demand, then you don't have much room within which to say, be innovative, because you have to be dealing with cleaning up inefficiencies. And as a result of that, you'll always be left behind. So you talk about the bauxite, for example. If you think about where we are, we continue to sell significantly just the dirt that you pick up from the earth. How much of that is converted to value-added products that you can now sell, and that would also be able to be recession-proof. So whether or not you have a recession, there are certain things that people still want, and you'll be able to sell those types of things, and therefore
but
that is
low
where we have to now
productivity
start
works
looking
against us.
Yeah, because if you're not, if you have to clean up the inefficiency, then you don't have the time to innovate to get those products and goods and services that people would still want, despite there being a recession. Yeah.
So then, if it was thrown to you and the government said to you, Professor, what do we have to do to ensure that we're in a better position to deal with this?
Well, the first position, as I said before, just right now, given that the signs are there, you must make sure that you actually tighten your fiscal account so that you can at least build up some surpluses, so that when that time comes, if and when it comes, you will have sufficient surpluses that you can now use to stimulate demand. And when we talk about stimulating demand, you can actually make investments in strategic industries that are going to actually create employment, create the types of jobs that are needed. So that to me is the first priority, to make sure that you're not fiscally reckless. Not because you have some surpluses now, you're just going to spend it, but you need to, as we say in Jamaica, save for that rainy day. I think that is going to be the key. If you don't have that and the recession comes and you're caught without anything that you can use to stimulate global aggregate demand locally, then you're going to have to depend on the international market for that stimulation. The international market is already suppressed, so there is nothing that is going to be coming your way.
The indicator for a lot of people that there is a pending recession, 12 to 24 months, is what the stock market is doing in many of those very countries that we've been talking about. And with a very healthy, top-performing Jamaican stock market, should we be looking at the numbers there? Are our listings on the Jamaica Stock Exchange recession-proof?
No, absolutely. I think, I can't recall the exact article, but someone in the multilateral made a point recently that yes, Jamaica stock market is performing well, but it is not unexpected, you know, and Dennis would know. I mean, the capital goes where the rate of return is highest. And because we are a small country, we have a lot of inefficiencies and stuff, it is easy for our markets to actually perform or outperform global markets where there are not a lot of inefficiencies, all right? And as a result of that, you can see this buoyancy in performance. But that does not mean that we're out of the woods in that regard, because what it's really saying is that a lot of the investments is actually taking up a lot of the inefficiencies in the market. They're actually doing arbitrage, basically, yeah? So clearly our stock market is, although it's performing well, this is not a signal that everything is well in the economy.
So, Denzel, let me ask you. A lot of university professors have made their prediction. What is your prediction on the possibility of a recession in the next year or next 24 months?
Good question. Let us start from where I started this interview. So if we can deal with Brexit in an orderly way, and if we can deal with China-US trade war in an orderly way, I think the probability of a recession is much lower, much, much lower. And as you would have seen when Trump came back from the G7, markets actually started to temper a bit because he did make a very important statement to say that China seems to be willing to come to the table and I'm now willing to talk. That alone gave confidence into investors to say, if they both come to the table, then we can see an ease back of this thing. So the real issue is how orderly Brexit will be. So October is going to be an important point in all of this discussion. Let us see what happens on October 31.
Right,
if they crash out of the
that's
EU,
a critical date.
Yes, that's a critical date to determine where these things are going to go.
Yeah.
So if October 31st come and the UK crashes out of the EU, then there is an impending sign. Second thing, where Germany is going as well. As you know, the largest economy in the European Union, if Germany continues on this path and they have another period of negative growth, that again is going to be a big sign. And then the final sign is whether or not Trump can sit with the Chinese president and they can discuss how orderly they're going to deal with this trade thing. If those things happen within the next 3 to 4 months, the truth is that the fear of a recession will be much lower. But if that can't happen by October, November, I can tell you straight off that we are going to be heading for a recession.
Within the next year?
Yes.
So therefore we need
within
to watch
2020.
We need to watch Trump's Twitter handle.
Watch Trump's Twitter handle, watch Boris Johnson, what he's doing.
So this could be the first social media recession.
But you also have to watch Boris Johnson, what he's doing as well, because do not underestimate Britain crashing out of the EU and the impact that will actually have. Big impact. Yes?
Yeah.
Very interesting times ahead. Thank you so much, Professor Williams. We take a break, folks. When we come back, we've got your numbers and the word on the street.
Island Hour, it's Island Hour, it's Island Hour. Bullseye for Eyes Summer Sale. Try your luck at the Bullseye and get up to 40% off your frames. Land on the Bullseye and your eyeglasses are completely free. This summer, July 15th to August 31st, everyone is a winner at Island Eyewear. Conditions apply. Call 630-1180 or visit islandeyewear.com. Island Eyewear, your price, your style.
Great design is not only how things look, but also how well they work. The GLC, more than meets the eye.
Welcome back to On Point. The last global recession started out in the United States and it had devastating effects on that country's economy. How bad was it? Take a look at the numbers.
Estimates suggest that the 2008 financial and economic crisis cost Americans some $12.8 trillion US. This figure included estimated actual gross domestic product GDP loss from 2008 to 2018 of $7.6 trillion US. Long-term impact saw some 23.1 million Americans, or 15% of the public, being out of work or unable to find full-time jobs. Some 9.3 million Americans lost their health insurance, while 11 million homeowners, that's almost 1 in 4, were saddled with mortgages higher than the value of their homes.
And our On Point team hit the streets and asked Jamaicans, are you confident that Jamaica can withstand the economic shocks of another global recession?
Jamaica, I don't know if we could survive another recession. Huh? Well, we're just recovering, and I don't really think we're at the stage where we can effectively keep off severe impacts that can result from a recession?
I don't know. I worry. I wouldn't worry if it happened.
I think they will fare off well. I think the government will put things in place to cushion for such.
Come like the recession right now. Because how we see things around, governments are trying still, but I think we can do a little better. But let's hope and pray for the current Prime Minister that something work for him enough and something good happen for the country.
First of all, we'll probably have a lot of chaos on the road. People will probably start looting, going for the supermarkets first, trying to get stock up on food items and stuff like that. But that would only happen if everything really fell into, social chaos and stuff. To me, the important thing is that the government give people as much information as you can give them, so that they know what is happening. Don't let it be like 2008, things started happening and people started worrying and all of that. Give us as much information so that we can know what's happening, what's happening not just in Jamaica, but how what happens in America affects us.
Corporate restructuring services. In today's evolving commercial and economic environment, businesses are continually seeking opportunities to manage operating costs and tax positions, as well as contain cash expenditures. Entity structuring can help achieve these goals, but often presents many challenges for multinational corporations. In addition, the OECD's Base Erosion and Profit Shifting (BEPS) proposals are expected to impact the bottom line of affected organizations and result in some business restructuring. Crow Jamaica delivers an integrated approach to clients' corporate and reorganization needs. Services include simplifying group structures, executing domestic and cross-border transactions including mergers, demergers, disposals, and company migrations, transferring assets and business units, aligning legal structures to business models, establishing national or regional hubs, converting subsidiary company structures to branch structures and vice versa, integrating legal structures following a merger or acquisition, providing practical advice and assistance throughout the planning, development, and implementation phases of corporate reorganizations. Crow Jamaica assists businesses and other advisors in developing and implementing efficient, cost-effective legal structures and business operating models. Our team can help you make smarter, more effective decisions. Let's have a conversation. Contact us at email people@crowjm.com. Website www.crowjm.com.
Your business matters. Business Access TV offers you the most innovative and effective advertising solution for your business, specializing in B2B sales, cost-effective solutions, the customers you want, the repetition you need. No matter the size and nature of your company, your business matters. Call us at 876-618-2870 or email us at sales@batvja.com. Business Access TV, serious about business.
3 years has really flown by with Dr. Constant Nonkel Ngwana. There we go. It's been 3 years. I think so much has changed with us as a people in the last 3 years.
But
And he's been witness to that.
our mindset has changed significantly, because I remember in 2012, 2013, I remember when the thing started. I remember when the global recession was here. I remember the mindset at the time. The blame of the IMF, the feeling of despair, and today, look where we are today.
To his credit, and certainly to ours, all along when you talk to Dr. Constant Nonkel Ngwana, there's always this Jamaica did it.
Yeah.
You sometimes want to give the IMF credit for that steady hand that they have had along the way, but they're always quick to push back and say, this was a commitment by the people of Jamaica. And you have to celebrate EPOC in the middle of all of this and the role that they played in ensuring that we were able to walk the path that we committed to.
Yeah, no, definitely. EPOC played a critical role. If it wasn't for EPOC and someone of the stature of Richard Ball, who's now BOJ governor, I don't think that we would have made it this far because the parliamentary indiscipline was still there. And if they did not have the private sector looking over their shoulders, I really believe that they would have gone back to their old ways.
Another important thing is that imperative that we all recognize collectively what needed to be done. And I think Constance said it in the interview that it was Jamaica against the world. People doubted that we were able to do this. And to recognize that the IMF program stretched across 2 administrations, and both administrations recognized that they couldn't be the one that dropped the ball. That's number one. And number 2, they recognize the importance of ensuring that the commitments that we made, we were able to stick to it. I think we also have to give credit to both administrations, finance ministers who got it.
But you know, etched in my memory, in terms of what the turning point is, was always that press conference that Peter Phillips had where he seemed like he was on the verge of tears because of the pressure that he was under, because he wanted to do this and he had a lot of opposition against him. You know, so I always remember that moment.
It's a tense moment in November coming up because we now are going to look forward to Chapter Next. And Chapter Next is going to be a chapter where we have to hold ourselves 100% accountable going forward to ensure that we don't bury ourselves in debt to the point where we're in the kind of problems that we found ourselves in a decade ago. So as much as we celebrate, we can't celebrate for too long. We still have to keep our eye on the ball of the kind of Jamaica that we leave for our children and our grandchildren.
Particularly going into a possible recession, you know, going to know Denzel Williams, you know, when he was talking, that it can have a significant impact on us. So the 2 conversations are linked, because if we don't ensure that the institutional capacity is there to resist the temptations that can come with a recession, then we could find ourselves easily back in the situation.
Absolutely, Dennis. And on that note, we've got to say thanks to the folks who made the show happen. It's good being back. Thanks to the very hardworking production crew, all the sponsors that came together to make this happen. I'm Patria King.
And I'm Dennis Chung. Until next week.
On Point was brought to you by Crow Jamaica.
Ready for cable for as little as $100? Ready for no monthly cable bill? Ready for 10 TV channels absolutely free? Then pick up our Ready TV box at authorized stores for $4,500. Hook it up to your TV set, then top it up with Ready Credit for 1, 7, or 30 days. Buy now and get $1,000 free Ready Credit and start watching your favorite shows. Pick it up, hook it up, top it up. Ready TV. Prepaid cable TV when you're ready. Now serving Kingston and St. Catherine. Limited time offer while stocks last. Conditions apply.
It's season 12, and Wealth Magazine Business Access is here to keep you business savvy. With an impressive mix of some of Jamaica's most inspiring business moguls, we continue to keep Jamaica informed, empowered, and ready to dominate. Tune in Sundays at 5 p.m. only on BATV.
You're watching
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access.
Business Access TV.
Serious about business.